Hello and welcome back to part 2 of 13G. Okay, so we've got a couple of examples here. So for the following trig function, state the amplitude and period and hence sketch the graph. Okay, so we get f of x equals 2 sine 3 of x. Okay, so what we want to do is state the amplitude and period. Okay, that's the first part of our question. So our amplitude, okay, is represented by the number at the front of the function. In this case, it's 2. Okay, so amplitude is 2. So that means our max is been multiplied by 2. Okay, and minimum y value has been multiplied by 2 as well. Okay, so sine with the 3x. Okay, that 3x is going to change our period. Okay, how do we find our period? Okay, we get the formula 2 pi over n, which equals 2 pi on 3. Okay, so if we need to sketch this, we're going to draw our graph. Okay, hopefully everyone is using a ruler in 2 colors. I don't have that luxury at the moment. Okay, this is my graph, so my x, y. Okay, y, x, and I'm only going to draw one period. Okay, so as I've got the red there, I'm going to go back to my blue. So what we said, our amplitude was 2. Okay, so our maximum value was 2 and our minimum value was negative 2. With the sine function, we start at the origin. Okay, so it starts at the origin, so we can put an x there. If it starts at the origin one period, it's going to finish at the origin. Okay, where it's going to finish, we've just found that our period is going to be 2 pi on 3. So it finishes at 2 pi on 3. Okay, so we can just draw that in there. In the middle, okay, the best way to draw these is break it up into 4 sections. Okay, so we get the 4 sections. We go the starting point, the maximum, intercept, minimum, intercept. Okay, the final intercept. We'll have 4 sections. I'll touch on this in a second. What I'm going to do is the intercept in the middle, because these are symmetrical, it'll be exactly in the middle. Okay, so it'll be half of 2 pi on 3. Half of 2 pi on 3 is 2 pi on 6. Okay, 2 pi on 6, which actually simplifies to pi on 3. Okay, and because this is a positive, okay, so we'll touch on negatives later on, but because this is positive, it's going to go up to 2. Okay, it's going to go down, it's going to cut the axis at pi on 3, go down and back up. Okay, so make sure that these minimum values is negative 2 and that maximum value is at 2. Okay, so hopefully everyone's drawing them a little bit more accurate than me. Okay, what I spoke about before when we break it up into 4 sections, because these are symmetrical, these maximum locations there and the minimum locations are exactly in between the 2 intercepts. Okay, it's a bit like our parabolas that we find. Okay, so if I've got 0 here, okay, and I've got pi on 3, half of that location right there is actually pi on 6. Okay, so it's just half of pi on 3, and this location right there at our minimum, okay, it's between pi on 3 and 2 pi on 3, so it's halfway in between that, which would be pi on 2. Okay, that would be at the 90 degrees. Okay, so that's our little graph there. So when we break it up into 4 sections, so that distance from there to there, that distance from there to there, that distance from there to there, and that distance from there to there. Even though my sketching is out a little bit, they are meant to be the exact same length. Okay, and that's why we want the same width apart. Okay, so it makes it really easy to draw if you think about those 4 sections. Okay, we're going to find this one. Okay, we're going to move on to part B. So 4 cos 3 pi x. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do our amplitude. Okay, amplitude is equal to 4. Okay, hopefully everyone's, while I'm mentioning this, writing this in their book. Okay, so beauty of a YouTube video, you can always trace back. Okay, and just highlight the sections. I've also put the slides on Compass. Okay, so that might be a bit of a help. So I've got period is actually 2 pi over n. 2 pi on n, so 2 pi. Our value of n is actually 3 pi. Okay, so 3 pi. What happens is those pi's cancel out. Okay, we're actually left with a period of 2 over 3. So it's actually going to make it really easy to draw. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my red pen. I'm going to draw another plane. Okay, I'm just going to do a little bit to the left. A little bit wonky, but I'll get better at this. Okay, so we got the y, got my x, Okay, so I'm going to go black to my blue. So what we've got with the COS, okay, so what features did we have with COS? Remember, COS started not at 0, where the amplitude was, okay, so previously it was 1, okay, in the examples before when we had just cos effects, but in this case, because we've multiplied the amplitude by 4, it's actually 4, okay, so it starts at 4, our minimum at some point will be -4, and we said our period was 2 on 3, so 2/3, so this location at the end here was 2 over 3, so I've got my dogs that's becoming a little bit annoying. Right in the middle, okay, remember that right in the middle is exactly half of 2 on 3, not pi, okay, so it's actually 1/3. In between here, okay, half of 1/3 is actually 1/6, okay, and in between the 1/3 and the 2/3 is 1/2, okay, so this is going to be drawn exactly very similar to this one, but remember that it starts at the y-intercept of 4, okay, but as we start there, we go down, cuts the axis at 1/6, has a minimum at 1/3, cuts the axis at 1/2, and then finishes its location right up there at 2/3. Okay, so notice that these are directly above and below those locations. Okay, so these are our 4 sections that you need to draw. They're symmetrical, so once you know the whole period, it's easy. We just halve it and break them up into quarters. So half and half, and break them up like that. Okay, just remember that sometimes if you do get pi in the formula, okay, we're not using pi as a measurement. Okay, so most of the time, like 90% of the time, we'll have pi as our measurements. Okay, off an angle. Remember that represents the angle. But sometimes when we're a few application questions, they try and get rid of the value of pi. Okay. So as we move to the next example, okay, so you've got a list of questions up there. We'll touch on that in a second. But this one, we're finding a third one. Okay, so this one is y equals 3 cos of 3 of theta. Okay, that's an angle. So rather than saying x, we're saying theta, but it's exactly the same. I'll show you where that changes. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to find our amplitude. Okay, so we should be getting a hang of this now. Amplitude is represented by the number at the front of our trig function. In this case, it's 3. And we've got our period. Okay, equals 2 pi over n. Okay, in this case, we get 2 pi divided by 3. Okay, so that's our full period there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get a red pen. Please use multiple colors, guys, when you're drawing these. Go down. Okay, that's my y-axis. Okay, it's y equals our horizontal axis. That's a little bit straighter. Get better at that. Instead of x, we're just using theta. Okay, but it still represents the same. That's just on our horizontal axis. Okay, so as we draw this, remember I'm going to start at the finish goal. Okay, so my period is 2 pi on 3. So right at the end, I'm going to go 2 pi on 3. Right in the middle, I'm going to find my location. That's pi on 3. And then I'm going to break this up into halves again. Okay, so this becomes pi on 6. That one there becomes pi on 3. Okay, so those are our 4 main points. Okay, this is a cos graph. Okay, so cos, remember, we're starting at 3. Okay, so we start at the top rather than a sine graph where we start at the origin. Okay, so we start at positive 3, and we're going to work our way down. Okay, so we go positive 3 all the way down. So these are my 4 important points. So my first one is where I cut the axis. The next one is my minimum. The next one is my x-intercept. And then the last one is my maximum. Okay, so it's very wonky. It's not exactly a straight line, but it's not an exact science. Okay, hopefully everyone's drawing is better than mine. The maximum is still 3. So if we were to label that location would be 2 pi on 3, comma, 3. Okay, so x or theta in this case is 2 pi on 3, and our y value is 3. Okay, so we're starting to hang of it, but the key part of it is, guys, is break them up into 4 sections. That's going to make it really, really easy to draw these examples. Okay, so what you've got is 14G. These are your questions. So 1, 2, every second one. Okay, so take note of the asterisks. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you got a few questions, but work your way through that and see how you go. Okay, thank you.